The Clown Kid. Something really odd happened to me when I was on holiday in the Mediterranean. It was my first holiday abroad without my parents. It was me and my best friend, Miranda. We had waited for this moment for such a long time, and we were so excited. Me and her, alone, out in the world, with nobody nagging at us. We felt so grown up. We were pretty good kids, though. We didn't go there to party or meet guys. We wanted to have fun in the sun. The first 2 days, we spent most of our time at the beach. But then we heard some people at our hotel raving about the farmers market in town. That if you wanted an unforgettable experience, you'd have to go there. Miranda and me had been eating grilled meat and French fries for the last 2 days, and were dying for some fresh fruit. So we decided it would be a fun thing to go and see what the fuss was all about. The farmers market was a 20-minute bus trip from our resort. We stepped out of the bus, and it really was like entering a totally different world. On one side of us was a dock with huge white ships and the ocean behind them. And on the other side of us was the farmers market. There were sailors walking around and loads of people. The market was in the middle of the street, a very wide street, and there were tables filled with produce on each side of the road. Sometimes a car would push through the masses of people. People would move out of the car's way without even looking at it. And as soon as the car had drove past, people would fill out the gaps again. I was afraid I would lose Miranda in the crowd, so I took her hand. There were voices, claps, and laughter coming from all directions. Then I heard something that sounded like a horn. You know, the type you push, and a duck-like sound comes out. I located the sound as coming from a group of maybe 5 kids riding on bicycles. They effortlessly rolled through the crowd. They looked too young to be out riding bicycles on their own, but I figured their parents must be working somewhere around there. The last kid looked really strange. He or she was wearing a faded clown suit. The child seemed to be balding. It had tiny short tufts of hair here and there on its head. It reminded me of what you might see on a cheap and old plastic doll. Everything about this kid was so odd. He stood out as a sore thumb, but just like with the cars, people just moved over and let him pass without even looking twice. The kid honked the horn, and I tried to show Miranda. She was already eyeing up some peaches that were the size of volleyballs. I pulled her arm. Look! I could see the kid disappearing behind the crowd. I saw some empty crates and pulled Miranda with me. I wanted us to stand on them so we could get higher up, and hopefully she would get a glimpse of the weird clown kid. But of course, neither me or her could see the kid anymore. We were getting ready to climb down from the crates when we heard a loud bang. From where we stood, we could see that a big clay pot, which had hung from a vendor's roof, had fallen and smashed into 1,000,000 pieces. "Didn't we just stand there?" said Miranda. And yeah, we had just been standing there a few moments ago. If we hadn't moved when we did, the pot would have definitely fallen over us. After that, we weren't really interested in fruit anymore and just took the bus back. That night, I had trouble falling asleep. I kept thinking about that pot and that weird kid. Somewhere in the distance, I thought I could hear the horn quacking away. But whenever I sat up, the sound would fade away. Nothing else out of the ordinary happened after that incident, not until we were at the airport getting ready to fly back home. That's when I heard that duck sound again. We were standing in line, checking in our bags, when I heard it. I looked around, but I couldn't see where it was coming from. I asked Miranda if she could hear the sound too, and she said she could. That assured me that I wasn't just hearing things. When we went to go into the terminal, I thought I could see the back of a kid on a bike with a faded clown suit. It felt so good stepping onto that plane and leaving all this weirdness behind. When I was back home, I noticed all the plants I had in my room had died. My mom said she had watered them as usual. We didn't really think much of it. We just chucked them out and bought new ones. The thing with the new plants, though, was that they were a lot smaller, so I could see through the window properly. One day, I thought I could hear that horn again. I was in the kitchen, and yes, I could definitely hear it. It was getting louder, so I rushed to the window and just caught a glimpse of what looked like that clown kid on the bike. But it was impossible. Think about it. A kid following me all the way from the Mediterranean. I went into my room and sat at my desk. I remembered I needed to water my plants, and that's when I looked through my window and saw something furry on the ground. There was blood in the grass next to it. When I came outside, I could see it was a puppy. There was a trail in the grass, and you could see the puppy had pulled itself quite a distance. My mom is a huge animal lover, and we took the puppy to the vet. The puppy was really malnourished and seemed to have been attacked by a bigger dog. We could never find any owner of the dog and decided to keep him ourselves. The vet said that if we had found it a couple of hours later, he would have surely died. I started thinking of the clown kid again. Wasn't it weird that whenever I saw that kid, weird things happened? Like when that heavy pot fell, and my flowers died, and a puppy almost died in my backyard. Was this some kind of demon bringing bad things to whoever saw it? I remember getting more and more paranoid. That summer, I met a guy with whom I got along really well. We spent a lot of time together, and soon we were a couple. I started feeling something wasn't really okay with him. He started acting really secretive and would get annoyed at the most trivial things. And then I started hearing that horn again. But I never saw any clown, so I figured it was just ordinary kids playing around. Then one day, I was going on a date with my boyfriend. We had decided to meet at this new bar. I drove into town, and when I stopped at a stop sign, I nearly shat myself. That clown kid was there, right in front of me, honking his horn and crossing the path with this huge, toothless grin. Then it sped off with unbelievable speed. This is it, I thought, and decided to follow him. I parked my car and ran after. He was very far ahead, but I kept my eyes on him all the time. To my surprise, he stopped next to the library, and when someone opened the door, he slipped in, bike and all. I knew I'd catch him now. I entered the library and went to the children's part of the library. Where else would he go, right? But he wasn't there, and neither was the bike. I went behind every shelf, but there was no clown anywhere. I went to the front desk and asked them if they had seen a little kid on a bike, but they just shrugged. "You mean a kid dressed in a clown suit?" The voice came from behind me. I quickly turned around. A guy was standing there, so I wasn't the only one who had seen him. "I was looking for him too," the guy said, and blinked to the librarian. I kind of felt like he was making fun of me, but then we locked eyes, and I could sense this guy knew something I didn't. "Where did it go?" I asked the guy. "I don't know. I lost him too," said the guy. We went to a cafe, and the guy, Dan, told me that he too had been seeing that clown and heard the horn several times. "Are we cursed?" I asked him. "What do you mean?" he said. "Well, whenever I see this clown, something bad happens. Once I was almost crushed by a pot. Another time, all my flowers died. And the third time, we found a half-dead dog in our yard." The guy looked surprised. "It feels like it's a tiny devil stalking me." "It's been the total opposite for me," Dan said. "Whenever I've seen the clown, something good has happened." "Give me some examples," I said. "Well, for example, the first time I saw the clown, I had no money left at all. Then the clown drove by, and after that, when I checked my pockets, I found a scratch ticket I had forgot about. And when I scratched it, I won 30 bucks. It wasn't a lot, but it saved me that week. That just sounds like a coincidence, I said. Isn't everything a coincidence? He asked. Maybe he's your guardian angel then, I said, and my guardian devil. But it can't be both, Dan said. Shouldn't something bad have happened to you by now if your theory is true? And right then, we could hear police sirens outside. I think I may have dodged a bullet running into you, I said. Something bad has probably happened out there, and I just missed it. But then I realized something. Maybe this was the way it was supposed to be. Maybe me and Miranda were supposed to stand on that crate and not be hit by that pot. Maybe my flowers were supposed to die so I could spot the puppy outside the window and save his life. And maybe I was supposed to sit in this cafe with a total stranger instead of being out there or in a dodgy bar. That clown hadn't brought bad stuff with it. It had saved the day several times. Did this mean I should stay in the cafe and get to know Dan better? I decided to be fair and at least call my boyfriend and tell him I wasn't coming to the bar. But when I phoned him, there was no answer. I later found out that he was in jail. Apparently, he was a drug dealer, and the reason he wasn't picking up the phone was because he was getting handcuffed at that very moment. And what happened after that? Well, me and Dan became a couple, and we're still together. We never saw that clown ever again after that day. But if you ever see him, please give it our thanks. Hi everyone. I know this story wasn't really that scary. It was more weird. But if you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like this one, leave a comment below. Until next time, take care and be safe.